everyone? It's the best week in golf. Back for another episode of Golf on Tap. And since it's such a special week, basically the equivalent of Golf Super Bowl, we thought it would be a good idea to bring in Chicago sports legend Mike North himself back for another episode. We had Mike on a few weeks ago talking about just everything that's going on in the current state of golf, and lucky enough to swing him back on over here for the Masters at Augusta National this week. Before we get into everything, everyone, make sure to go and hit that like button. Jump on into the YouTube feed so you can let us know who you're tailing this week at Augusta National, who you're going to be fading, what kind of props you got, all that good stuff. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button to the On Tap Sports Network. Mike, we're so grateful to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. How you doing this afternoon? You pumped up for Masters Week or what?
I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, if you need me for the majors, for sure, I'm here. I mean, it's the best that golf has to offer. I mean, I've been watching it since I was like 7 years old with my dad. I mean, I saw Palmer the first time. That's when I fell in love with the game of golf. And then I've gone through them all from Snead to Trevino to Nicholas to Tiger to Phil. I mean, it's just been, and you didn't need gambling. We weren't into golf when we were kids. We played all the other sports, but when the majors came on, especially the Masters, you all watched it. And that you don't need to have money on the Masters. Of course, I will have money on the Masters. We'll give out some nice tips today. And it's good to see both you guys. You guys are big for the game of golf. Any podcast that tells a different story compared to the ones you'll hear on the Golf Channel, for instance, the homogenized kind and stuff like that. We'll get down to the nitty gritty, and I think that there's some good picks out there. I think there's some people we haven't heard from lately, not counting the LIV guys, the live guys, maybe some guys that have been on the current PGA tour that we haven't heard from that might crop up here, even though I saw the tweet Phil Mickelson sent out today. It was good to see Phil. He's been a recluse as the rest of the live golfers have been. So this is their big day in the sunlight, which is amazing in itself. But I heard him say, the one course you got to drive at. Everybody thinks you don't need to drive on Augusta. He said that's the one place you need to boom the ball. To put you in better positions for the rest of the shots. I found that interesting. I've always thought it was a strategical type of course. You didn't need to be a big hitter, but Phil says otherwise. I'm not going to doubt him. He's won some, so we'll see what happens. But I got some light hitters and some heavy hitters ready to go.
Well, we're super excited to get into all of that, Mike, but I do think you bring up a really good point there. The Masters this year is going to play as long as it ever has, and over recent years to just keep up with modern technology and make it the best course in men's professional golf. They have had to extend it, and given that there's a lot of slopes in the fairway that make it difficult to hit the right landing spots in order to drive it further, there are some people that suggest this course really in actuality can play as long as like 7,800 yards because of how hard it is to hit those areas. So I do think you bring up a good point there is driving distance, maybe not historically throughout the 100 years or 89 years that the Masters has been played as Augusta, that you need driving distance. But in today's day and age, it kind of feels like it really does give you a leg up. So I think you bring up a good point there. We'll get into the picks here in just a second, Mike, but you just mentioned you've been watching this tournament since you were 7 years old, long before gambling was, is kind of
wasn't even thought of.
Exactly. You put it in a good way, and I would still be tuning in without it, but when you got a little money on it, it does kind of spice it up a little bit. We'll get there in just a second, but like I just said, you've been watching this since you were a little kid. Can you just kind of tell me what the Masters means to you and all the great moments you've been able to witness over the years, and just how pumped you are that we're finally back, golf's first major championship of the year. We're here at Augusta, my friend.
I think it means a lot because it means a lot to the players. You know what I mean? It's like the Super Bowl. That's what it is. The Masters is sort of like Daytona. Your biggest game is your first game. I mean, I'm tired of the minus 18 scores. I'm tired of the minus 21 scores that I've been seeing lately. The equipment has overmatched the balls. They've overmatched what some of these courses are. I heard Jack Nicklaus a few weeks ago, and it was disturbing for me to hear this, that the course they were playing on, it was the players. He said, well, we made a couple holes easier, not as rough on the guys, because there were complaints. And I'm saying to myself, I'm sure Willie Mays had complaints about the 467-foot center field fence that he had to try to hit a home run over, but he played his career in two of the worst ballparks ever. I was stunned that Jack Nicklaus wants to make it easier on the top pros in the game. And I think that's a problem when, you're so close to these guys, they can come up to you, you're approachable, and they complain about every course. There's guys that bitch about every course because they want to have money in their pocket. They want to look better to everybody else. They don't want to embarrass themselves on TV. But I've heard that they're making courses easier. And when Jack Nicklaus says it, it disturbs me. And I see some of the rules. I see a ball get wedged in a sand trap, between the grass and the sand, and they pull it out. I see it, I see balls bang off bleachers and end up on the greens, and it's okay. So things have changed. I think the game's easier now for these guys, but I can name you guys that would dominate most of these guys if they had the equipment back then that they have now. Period.
Jordan,
that I was going to say that's definitely been something me and Jack have talked about in the past, that they make the layouts on some of these courses absolutely ridiculous and so simple. And Jack and I have gone on and on multiple times where it's been, there are 150 of the best golfers in this field.
Unbelievable.
Don't make it simple. Let me see which fucking 4 guys can hit that shot.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right, Ross. You're 100% hit it on the head. It bothers me so much. When I watched golf in my 20s, 30s, 40s, you saw the best, but they knew they were in for a test. Oh, we got a tough test today. Oh, we got a tough test today. Now I hear, well, we changed the green. We made it wider. We took out a couple bumpers. We're taking out trees. I mean, where are we going over here? And now you got 2 tours. Nothing's. The last time we talked, I told you Monahan was no good. I'll triple down on that. I mean, he gave the damn presentation at the players. Looked like he just walked out of the bar, had his hands in his pocket up by the mic, acting like he's all high and mighty. They don't have a plan. John Rahm is crying. Bryson DeChambeau crying like the little bitch that he is. You got buyer's remorse because you went there. You take all the money, but you're extinct. And it sort of pisses me off they're playing even in the 4 majors in a way. You took the money and you're being rewarded, but only 4 times a year. I mean, I saw Brooks Koepka. Okay. All these guys were supposed to be the best. I'm looking at the odds. Okay. And I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute. 8 of 10 are PGA golfers. They're not live golfers. You got Koepka in there. DeChambeau's plus 3,500. So these guys have really actually hurt themselves by lack of competing against the best in the world and just having money in their pocket. They've gotten soft. And Koepka, his brand has been destroyed. He was doing Michelob commercials. He was doing commercials for Jiffy Lube. How many golfers get those opportunities? But he went for the big money. But you know what? It's buyer's remorse. They missed the ego trip. I watched Live for 10 minutes Sunday because I knew I was going to be on with you guys. No, Saturday. Turned it on. There were like 12 people watching. The TV was horrible. And I think these guys saw the money. Me, I'm still living off the money and the interest I made in the 1990s, 2000s. How much money do you need? Rory McIlroy's got to be worth $100 million. So let's say he doesn't get a deal from Liv. Big deal. So it's just a joke right now what's going on. The adults don't know what they're doing. Brandel Chambly is still firing away. He's upset. You got the other guy, the guy that talks like the English guy who's pretty good. But, it's bothersome. The game of golf, they're worried about the ratings. Rory never, and then Roy says the ratings, they're down a fifth. If it was ratings that drove advertising, golf wouldn't have any. Okay, except for the majors, period. But it's the kind of high-end sport that the Rolexes, the Cadillacs, the Buicks go to. So they could have low ratings. Don't play that game with me. And I'm tired of hearing about it from both sides.
Yeah. It's gotten old, and I think that's also what's led to the declined ratings too, is just people are just done with it. People are just done with all this crap. But I don't think the ratings are going to be down this week at
Oh, no.
National.
You got everybody back. Let's face it, the PGA is not as good as it was because you can't have those guys in another league. I mean,
No.
I'm watching guys winning that 100-1 that would never win if Rahm's there. If we all know this, if Smith is there, if some of these other guys are there, if DeChambeau's there, if Bubba Watson's there. I don't think Knapp is winning. I really don't. I think when you have 10 or 12 golfers gone from that, it hurts the product. It helps the younger guys. They're getting exposure now. But if you don't bet on it, you're going to shut off the Valero Open.
Yep.
Okay? You're going to shut off some of these, even the Waste Management Open, you know? But for me, I've been doing very well in golf, as good as I do in any of the other sports, because it's usually I do the matchups, but I live bet on Saturday and Sunday, usually on Sunday when they're jockeying the last 10 holes.
When they've been easing up courses throughout the Florida swing, not just the Players Championship what was made easier this year, the Cognizant Classic at PGA National, which is annually one of the best and most difficult challenges on tour year in and year out. They made that a little bit of a cupcake this year. And yeah, I think just it's again, there's a lack of understanding what the people want from
That's
who's
right.
making those decisions on the PGA Tour. And that's what always catches Ross and myself's eyes, is just the lack of understanding what this modern generation wants. And there's a reason why YouTube golf is so big, but all the ratings are going down because they're just sick of the same old product, and it's nothing new. It's nothing innovative. They're pampering the players.
Yes, they are.
100% pampering the players, and it's just
I mean, even the
product.
nonsense. How about this? I don't mind them interviewing the players. I like that guy. What's his name? Smiley. You know, I like him. I think the players like him. They're comfortable. But after 3-4 minutes, get out of there. Start showing them playing. Enough.
Yes, that's been a problem too. Like,
show the players. Show them all. Quit trying to. I don't care, okay, what Wyndham Clark thinks at this particular thought. I don't care why he put the ball in the water 2 holes ago. We got 6 holes to go, you know? So, and then they're talking to him, walking down. These are nice innovations, but I think they're doing it along with the long-winded, and I love her, Amanda Bablionis or Amanda Renner. She'll keep a guy for 15 minutes there talking to him, you know, just to eat up time. So, and there's been delays this year. Golfers waiting around. The pace of play speed it up a little bit. I mean, the other day they showed Thegala. They said, well, he's been there for 15 minutes waiting. That never used to happen, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wild time. Still is we don't have any finalized answer as where the future of professional golf is going to go. But for the first time since last July, LIV golfers, the PGA Tour players, are going to be facing off head-to-head this week at Augusta National. Of course, you know they're not going to be cupcaking. It is a monster. It is going to play difficult. You're going to need to have the complete package to get around there. We talked about driving distance being big. It's even just as difficult to find the landing spot on the greens because they're so sloped. You got greenside runoff areas, hard to putt there. It's going to be beautiful to watch in person. But Mike, we'll let you start things off in terms of the picks you got this week. I know you just said that you've been doing a lot of matchups and live betting on Sunday, but it sounds like you got some outrights for us here this week.
Well, they don't have the matchups listed right yet. You know, I mean, they like to wait on those, especially Bovada. But I've really enjoyed picking on looking at some of these golfers. And the way I look to read odds, I look at popular names, okay? And I look at certain guys that are favorites of the fans, and so does the bookmakers, okay? A guy that I bet against all the time but people love him because he poured beer on himself at the Waste Management.
You're
What's
gonna
his
hurt
name?
Ross's
Damon?
feelings here. You're gonna hurt Ross's feelings.
Is
here.
it Damon?
Damon.
It is Joel
Okay.
Damon.
I bet against him because people love him. They go to him. He gets his butt kicked a lot. He does one-on-one matchups. He loses. I pick out certain guys that I think that have the name, but don't have the game to match. Have 3-day games out of 4. That's how Rory's starting to become. Rory's starting to become a 3-day player. Rory at his peak was a 4-day player. Now it's usually the first round, or maybe the second round. He can't put 4 good. He's a great golfer, but it just seems like, guys, he can't put 4 together, and I don't think he ever will.
And that's been a huge problem for him at Augusta, actually. I think he's shot in the last 5 or 6 years. I think he shot under 70 just one time in the first round. Like, he's only been able to string together 3 rounds and hasn't been able to do it for the full tournament. So, but Rory, like you said, he's going to be popular. He's going to be popular. It's Rory at Augusta. People want to see him compete the career Grand Slam, as he's been trying to do for the last 10 years. He's also gone on a drought in major championships. But yeah, Mike, who you thinking this week in terms of your outrights? I know you're going to get some matchups later on in the week.
I'll tell you what, I like, there's certain guys that have been touted that haven't done crap yet. And I'm just thinking that I think a couple of these guys will come up. The reason I see this is I think Ludwig Aberg has played well, but he has not done what people have, he's the next big thing and everything else. Yet I see that he's 9th favorite at plus 3,000. You put couch change on him, $25, $50. You could win $1,500, or you could play. I think he's definitely a top 20, a top 10 type of guy. I stay away from Rory. That's all the hype. The Golf Channel's praying. They're on their knees during commercials. Rory, please, Rory. Rory, we love you. Don't you think Rory McIlroy is so good? Yeah, what's with the English-speaking girls do? I don't need it. Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler. Hey, they got their names, but Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth are the first 2 guys that I'm not taking. I'm just pushing them out of the way. Do you agree or not? I think Jordan Spieth is all talk now. I think he talks too much to his caddy. I think he waits too long to hit. I think he thinks too much. I see all these guys. I see where guys are going to other states to get golf tips from. Just go when you were 20 years old, Spieth. Go up there, tell the caddy to shut up, and play one game where you do all the thinking. I'm serious. And I think you'll see a better Spieth, but I don't think he's going to change. I think he knows he's a family favorite. They hardly ever criticize him on the Golf Channel, but he's been a mess, Jordan Spieth, for a long time. And they won't say that on the Golf Channel, will they? They won't say that in the golf world. They grab his belt loop and pray to God he's going to be what I thought he was going to be 5, 6, 7 years ago. I thought the way he started, he was going to challenge Tiger, didn't you guys? I thought he went off right off the beginning, and now he's falling off a cliff.
I think a lot of people had that thought, and I'm not really interested in either Rory nor Jordan Spieth. Rory more so for the number that he's at. I just don't think I can get to him at 10 to 1.
How many years has it been since he won a major? 14?
10. It's been 10? Since 2014. It's been 2014, since 2014. That's it. But yeah, me and Ross literally talked last night about Jordan Spieth, like kind of almost in the same way that you talked about Rory, but instead of it being like 3 of the 4 rounds, it's like Jordan can't put his entire game together for a whole tournament. Like, his driving's good one week, but his approach is really bad. His putting is a disaster one week. Like, there's just inconsistencies in different areas of his game. And people are just, like you said, just going to be on Jordan Spieth because he's Jordan Spieth. And I just don't think I can get on either of those guys. And I think Ross kind of feels the same way. Yeah, Ross, what we discussed last night.
I look at Koepka. And I look at Koepka as being 5th, Ross, and I look at Matsuyama. I like Matsuyama at 1,800. He's always around. Huh?
I do have both in mind. For me, Brooks is just, even playing on live. Brooks is just one of those guys that when he comes in, it's big dick in a locker room. You know why he's here for this tournament. He is going to show up. He always has, always will. I where it's just
Right.
hard for me to throw him out, regardless.
Agreed.
Regardless that he's playing 54 holes over on live, and we're switching back to 72. He is just one of those people for me that whenever he shows up, you know that he is going to give his best and be in contention somehow.
And I'll tell you what, you're right. He's fifth right now at plus 1,800. That's a good bet. He's hungry. You know that he misses the adulation. Another guy, Neiman. He's eighth right now at plus 2,500. He's a guy I'm going to put some money on. I mean, hasn't he been missing in action? I mean, the kid needs a sandwich. He needs to put on some weight. But he hits the crap out of the ball. And yet I look at the odds, and he's ahead of guys like Hovland, Finau, Wyndham Clark, Patrick Cantlay. Neiman's one of my picks. They must know, the odds makers, that even though he's been struggling, Augusta is made for certain players, and he seems to be one of them.
Yeah, it feels like Neiman, because of what he's been able to do on live in the last 8 months, he's the biggest winner there, but it's been it's been since February since he got his last win, I believe.
Yeah.
Ross, did he win? Yeah, that was at when the AT&T Pebble Beach. But still, and his numbers gotten absolutely smashed since then. I think he was like 70-1 at one point in time, and now down to 25-1. A lot of people are putting money on Joaquin Neiman because
I could tell.
I just think the time's coming for him, and like you said, a really good ball striker. I don't know if I'm personally going to get there, but I think Ross really liked Neiman as well. We talked last night.
Ross and I are on the same wavelength on a lot of these. I'm getting. I don't know whether the Warrior be thrilled about this.
Yeah, I had Neiman in. I only had 4 picks this week. I had Neiman in my 4 up until this past weekend. Hideki knocked him out of my 4.
Ooh, okay.
Hideki's been playing so good. I mean, since the win at Riv, it just like that Sunday flipped a switch in him. He had a top 10 at the Arnold Palmer, or at the Players Championship T12 at API. Another top 10 finish last week at the Valero Texas Open. We know he can do it at the Masters. I'm gonna find myself on Hideki Matsuyama this week as well. So all 3 of us are on the Hideki train here.
We'll get on the train, and then the next time we do a show, we'll be bragging, and we'll have new sunglasses and wallets and everything. And he'll come in real quick. I'm looking at Tommy Fleetwood and all these other guys that were so good. Cameron Young, Justin Thomas, they're way down on the odds board, man. I mean, this is one hell of a leaderboard. I mean, when you got Morikawa plus 55-1, no shot.
I think a big reason for that is just because none of these guys have shown that great of form.
No.
Scotty Scheffler is just the boogeyman. We haven't talked about him yet on this show. But Scotty has been on an absolute tear. 2 wins in the Florida Swing, and then nearly did it again at the Houston Open in his last start out. Missed a 5-footer to force a playoff with Steven Yeager. 4-1 for Scotty Scheffler. Mike, I'm not personally going to get there as someone who bets on the PGA Tour week in and week out, but like to other people who may be just like betting for this week because it's the Masters, I think like Scotty Scheffler at 4-1 is probably good value for the average bettor. Like he's probably going to be there on Sunday. You're going to have something fun to watch during the final round. Like he's going to be inside the top 5 somewhere. It's just whether or not he's going to get it done. But it doesn't sound like you're going to have part of that Scotty Scheffler 4-1 action.
I love Scotty Scheffler. Here's the deal. Him and Sam Burns are wifeless this week and staying in the same house that Dustin Johnson fell down the stairs at and ruined his career. That's it. I'm done.
Not doing it.
That's all I got to say. I mean, I know you're focused on the Masters. Okay. You're the number 1 golfer in the world. But I don't care. When you're with the wives, nice little dinner, have a little glass of wine. You know what I mean? When you're with your buddies, you're doing somersaults over the sofa. You're messing around. Scotty, I mean, Dustin Johnson fell down a flight of stairs. and it was all guys messing around. So I'd like to say Scotty Scheffler is such a big favorite because Rahm is second at 1,200. At
Yeah.
plus 1,200. Scheffler's plus 475. So the only thing I'm worried about is he's hanging with Burns, who can't make a dent, okay, in the tour, but he's on the lead. He's there. He's about 55 to 1, and he's staying with a buddy. That's the only thing that I'm worried about. I know that Ricky and Spieth and all those guys used to rent a house, which had to be a blast, but you would think, you know what? I think Scheffler will be responsible. I think he's a great pro. And I like that he's favored over Rahm. And you guys brought up a good point. I'm anxious to see what the 54 to 72 holes, the difference. I know they're going to play, but I got to believe the PGA golfers are conditioned better right now than the guys that wear shorts and almost hit a lady in the head who's in by the green with a blanket and live.
I do think that's actually going to be a really interesting thought, and maybe something that people didn't consider last year when Brooks Koepka kind of played poorly during that final Sunday, when it just seemed like he was out of gas. And yeah, it's been since the Open Championship since these guys have actually played 72 holes of competitive golf. So yeah, I do think that's a little bit of an interesting angle.
You think that's a thing, Ross? Do you think that's a deal?
I don't know if it's a huge thing, but I think like it's enough to make you consider something else. And me and Ross talk about, you always got to come up with these reasons why you can't bet everyone in the field, right? You got to limit some things down. You got to find reasons to get off guys. And I think that could be a reason.
Would you bet just all the live golfers? There's a way you could do this. Bet 5 PGA golfers or bet 5 live golfers, whether it's top 10, winning what. Which side do you think would win? Which side do you think you walk away with money in? I'm leaning PGA. I'm leaning the PGA because I don't care if you're a boxer and you're used to boxing 3 rounds, and then they tell you got to box 6 rounds the next fight, and you haven't boxed 6 rounds. I know it's boxing, but it's still the same thing. You're doing more than you've done over the last year, basically, or 2 years. You have not played a grueling 72-hole tournament like the PGA guys have. And nobody's going to tell me Rahm or anybody. And I love John Rahm. Love him. Was brokenhearted when he left. Didn't need to do it. Could have been the big guy on the tour. But he made, I think, a miscalculation because he's the biggest hypocrite of them all. I love him, but he's to me, I'd never go. I'm not going to go. The PGA is the thing I always wanted. Then he just moved. And I understand. But you shouldn't have chirped. So I think Rory, does he pretend he's playing? Does he pretend he's playing the Houston Open? Does he pretend he's playing something else and try to block it out of his mind? Because, there was one thing I couldn't get over, and that was math. Okay, in 7th grade, I just couldn't get the math down, the fractions. And I don't think Rory can get Augusta down because it's up here.
Yeah, and it feels like every year that he goes to the Masters, there's like a different strategy in mind. There's a different way he's trying to do it. And now, like, he's just thinking it. I think he's just thinking it. A lot of people don't understand that Rory is only 5'9". People don't understand that Rory's a little guy and he's got a lot of power because his legs, dude, he's a big guy. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
but I do
he
agree.
was really skinny. And now he's so big. And I those protein shakes got to be something. But Rory has got arms now. When he was a better golfer when he was thinner. He was a better golfer when he was more flexible. He was a better golfer when he could do different shots. You're like this. You're like this now. You're like DeChambeau. Jack Nicklaus always said, you want the ball to go far, take a nice easy swing. DeChambeau comes in. I never seen it. And he takes the same. He's out of his mind, and that ball goes flying. But I think Jack meant, too, it will go straighter. And we haven't talked about the narrow fairways of Augusta. That's where these guys get in trouble. Forget about what Phil said. I know. Don't forget about it. You do need the drive. But I think when you look at the fairways and you see tree lines on both sides, that's the deal. If you're not driving straight there, all bets are off.
It's an
I'm
intimidating off the tee course.
Yes.
I'm currently laughing because as we're having this whole discussion, I just got a message from my mom, one of Mike North's biggest fans, saying Rory's strategy is fuck it this year.
I love it. That's right. She might be right because I think he's been hearing about it so much. What's the sense? Just come out loosey goosey. And let's not forget, there's some talent on this dais, on this Masters dais that is going to be playing against him. It's Rory. Not only has to battle the course, he's got to battle his own demons with that course, and then he's got Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm. I mean, you got guys like Hovland that aren't even favored. Rory's still the third favored guy, and he's never won at Augusta. So that's the name recognition that gets a lot of bets, like you said,
Yeah.
Jack. That gets him the odds that come down.
There's that, and then last year he was on the record like the whole week saying, I feel so good going into this week. I think I'm gonna have my best performance.
Yeah.
And he missed the cut.
Yeah.
Oh, I had money on him last year. I remember.
Oh,
very well. I think he might have been the favorite too, or behind Scotty. I think he was the second favorite behind Scotty too. So yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow for me personally.
And I wonder what the clubhouse is like with the live guys. Yeah. I wonder what it's like
dinner.
with those guys. Dinner, walking by each other, running into each other at the cocktail lounge, getting on the golf tees, on the range. I just think there's some guys still that don't like each other. I really do. They keep it under their hat. I think the biggest one of all those, Monahan. I think he's the one guy, and Greg Norman. I think I put those two guys, they're scumbags to me, both of them. So Norman hates the tour, always did. Took heavy criticism because he couldn't win the big ones most of the time. He's not well loved on the tour to begin with. Wanted to hurt the tour. I don't buy that. He just wanted. They could have had. He didn't have anything ready. He just had Saudi money through their people. He's a better businessman than that. And for him and Monahan to have done this and not have a deal, and for him to represent the Saudis, I just think Norman's a scumbag. I really do. I really do. My opinion.
I think unified golf will be amazing when the two of them are just not involved, period.
That's the biggest
agree
thing.
So much.
That's the biggest thing. We need the guys back together, but we need different people running professional golf. We need not what's been done forever. It's not going to revolutionize this game and move it forward. It's the amount of talent that is out there in the world, but no one gets to see it. We only get to see it these 4 times a year, and that's why people are so... I mean, it's the Masters. People are always going to be intrigued in the Masters, but there's more storylines. There's more questions. There are people pondering what's going to happen with Brooks Koepka this week. Is he going to show up? Joaquin Niemann, is he going to be the next stud? We don't know because we don't know how to quantify what he's doing on live in a 54-hole tournament where guys are wearing shorts. We don't know how serious everyone over there is really taking it.
No, it's like Caleb Williams with the Bears. We're hearing about this Caleb Williams. Okay, here's the deal. I don't know if he's going to make it or not. But when you're worth $10 million already and you're 22 years old, and when you have a $2 million penthouse, here's what I worry about. Do you have the fire in the belly? Do the live golfers who are $100 million guys, $500 million guys, do they have that fire in the belly? I'll give you one guy that doesn't. Dustin Johnson's disappeared. He made his money. And he went, and I knew it. He was stoned half the time anyway when he played. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. You could, I believe me, take it from a guy who's been around the block 38 times. That guy played tournaments absolutely stoned lately, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Okay? And this guy was the best golfer in golf 4, 5, 6 years ago. Then he goes over there, and him leaving, if that was to hurt the PGA, it didn't hurt me. Do you miss Dustin Johnson? I just miss Rahm. I miss Rahm. I don't miss Cameron Smith. I don't miss some of these guys. I miss John Rahm and I miss Brooks Koepka. So I don't even miss, I sort of miss Bubba. DeChambeau is a phony. I don't miss him that much. He's a freak show. So there's 3, 4 guys I miss, but the PGA's got the TV deals, as we talked earlier, guys. And as long as they got those 2 major TV deals, they are the boss. And Monahan couldn't realize that. And that should get him dismissed as soon as possible. They're the power, like the NFL was the power back in the day with the AFL, until the AFL played them. Okay. And Joe Namath got it. Then everybody got together. That's not going to happen here, apparently. And I don't know how this is going to work out.
I really don't either. They're having meetings, supposedly.
They don't know either.
Yeah.
They don't know either.
I think it's a question mark across all fronts on this in terms of, and even if they do bring them back, how do you really go about it? Because these guys took the money, and how do you integrate them back, but don't
I would have
make the
LIV.
PGA Tour players feel like they get the shit end of the stick?
They do, but some, some guys said they'd stick together, including Rahm, and they left. I would have the LIV division, and I'd have the PGA division under the PGA banner, though. That's the thing that they probably wouldn't like, but tough. We got channel CBS and we got NBC. You got WGN after Bozo. Okay, so enough. Then I'd have them play crisscross, play each other. Okay, for more, like Koepka against Rory for matchup golf, for betting. The LIV golfers versus the PGA golfers. Now you got something. Now you got instant rivalries. The LIV golfers are the bad guys. You need an hombre. You need a villain. The PGA golfers are the country club kids that got, surprised by the invasion of LIV. And that's how you build it up. Like boxers. Like Don King always said to me, good versus bad equals green, Mike. And that's how you got to do it. You got to bill it that way. I think that's how the fans would bill it.
And I think, sorry, Ross, go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say, I actually agree with that strategy, because one thing that has already been part of professional golf is we used to have the World Golf Championships, where it was the bracket style seating that they would play each other and work through a tournament. It has been done before. It can be reinstituted, and it can be set up like that, where you're having Brooks Koepka versus Wyndham Clark in the first round matchup.
That's right.
Let's see who's the final pair going into Sunday. Is it 2 LIV guys? Is it 2 PGA guys? Is it a PGA guy versus a LIV guy?
I mean, if they want to have team golf, I heard. I think that's a mistake. But if you do team golf, once again, you have 6 teams in the LIV division, 6 teams in the PGA division. So then you got the day that they're playing each other. You got a team of Rory, Clark, Wyndham Clark, Hovland, and maybe Keegan Bradley versus Koepka, Smith. I mean, that would bring, I think, pay-per-view. A team of LIV guys versus a team of PGA guys. Winner take all. The other guys just get expenses. Would break records. We've gotten away from good guy, bad guy. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to be nice now. No, it was good guy, bad guy. Don King also told me, Mike, let me tell you what makes a great boxing match. I go, what? He goes, you got a black guy, you got a white guy. I go, yeah. He goes, black versus white equals green. Well, it's the same type of premise with LIV, with the black hats, versus PGA with the white hat. Equals green. Right now, you got billionaires over here with nobody watching them. You got millionaires over here with everybody watching them. So somebody's got to figure out something. But right now, the PGA, if I took over the PGA tomorrow, I would tell the Saudis, if you want to go, go. We're not going to include you in the Masters. We're not going to include you in the majors unless we can work something out. You gave them all the money. You guys left. We didn't tell you to leave. You broke the rules. It was a mistake to let you back into the majors. If you want back into the majors, go to your membership and tell them you're going to be out unless there's some movement going forward. I don't care. Period. And Martha Burke, I remember Martha Burke. I was on the air big time. I said, she's out of her mind. Martha Burke goes, we're going to stop the Masters. We're going to stop the Masters because they won't let women play. They wanted Michelle Wee to play. Even the golf writers, these guys are all weaklings. I said that she doesn't deserve to play. It's a men's tournament at the time. Martha Burke held a protest. They finished her off. They ran with no commercials. That's how powerful the Masters is. You know what I mean? So they don't even consider themselves part of the PGA, weirdly, in a way. They run their own tournament, man. The PGA tries to tell these guys what to do. They tell them, take off. We're going to do this the way we want to do it. The PGA would have never had a tournament without commercials like the Masters did. But they wanted to break Martha Burke. They wanted to break her bad, and they did.
And honestly, the perfect example of that is what the Masters did on their own with Neiman. I mean, Wako was going out there. He was winning all the live events. And then at the same time, he went and he played the DP World Tour, and he won the Australian Open on the DP World Tour, where the Masters went, okay, he's winning on multiple levels, on multiple tours. He deserves to be in the field. Fuck what you say, PGA. We're inviting him.
That's right. So it's just a mess, and this shouldn't be hanging over a great tournament, but it does. So it's a great tournament. I was stationed in Augusta, Georgia, when I was in the Army for 4 months at Fort Gordon. I lived in Augusta, and I saw that if you tried to go in there, you were thrown out. The fences at the time, I don't know if it still is, wooden, tall, and white all the way around the course. You had no fence you could see through. It's completely, you can't see it. And if Army guys like us tried to go, they throw us right out. I mean, that's a no monkeying around place. And
yeah.
I mean, think about this. I mean, I'm glad that they're letting the kids play now. The girls are playing there. They're getting the putting for the kids. I think they've opened things up a little bit, but nobody tells them what to do. Nobody.
No,
they don't. Augusta, they are Augusta, Georgia. If that place is, I was there. It's a pit. If that place wasn't there, there'd be no Augusta, Georgia.
Mike, the last thing I wanted to ask you before we get on out of here, we haven't brought up old Tiger Woods a single time here on this show. What are your thoughts on Tiger going into this tournament? We obviously have only seen him for one single round of competitive action in 2024. I personally have a hard time feeling confident in his chances based on just the lack of being able to actually get reps. And this is a tough place to walk. I know his legs gotten better, but this is the toughest walk on the PGA Tour. We haven't seen him very often. Your thoughts on Tiger before the Masters this year?
The greatest sideshow in sports. Shows up, hits the ball. There's Tiger. They all genuflect. He goes out. I thought him pulling out was telling of the last tournament. He couldn't go. He said he had an upset stomach. Now, you couldn't walk. You couldn't walk. And if you can't walk, okay, you can't play in the PGA. I hope he does. I wasn't the biggest Tiger fan. I always thought he had a free ride in a way because of his competition. When your competition is Vijay Singh, Phil Mickelson, and Sergio Garcia, you should run over everybody. I mean, Nicklaus had to contend with Trevino, Palmer, Ben Hogan, Tommy Weiskopf, Julius Boros. I mean, these guys were all monsters compared. I mean, if you could take all the golfers today and meld them in with the golfers from yesterday and pick your top 10 with today's equipment, I got Trevino, I got Nicklaus, I got Hogan, I got Palmer, I got Tiger, I got Snead, I got Phil. I gotta have Phil in there. I gotta have Phil's a top 10 because Tiger just haunted him. The thing that turned people off about Phil is he crapped the bed whenever Tiger showed up, but then he won those Masters. I got Phil. And then after that, there's 3 golfers left. Maybe I've missed somebody. I can't put Koepka there yet. I guess Scotty you can't put there yet. You got to see their whole thing. I must be missing one of the old timers, but I don't think I am. Guys like Walter Hagen in the 1920s, they played with wood shafts. But I'd probably put him in as the first major money winner from the 20s and 30s. He was up there with Babe Ruth and Jack Dempsey. and in the golden age of sports in the 20s. But then you could fill in the other two guys, I think. I don't think you guys, did I miss anybody? That I didn't miss anybody. The great golfers are, there's not a whole ton of them left. Trevino was the best money golfer. I mean, he was a side hustler. He was like Phil, only he'd win. But I can't think of a couple other guys that would be.
Did you say Sevy?
You know who I didn't say? Gary Player. I didn't say
Yeah.
Gary Player, and I'll give Sevy his due too. That's our 10. That's my 10 at least. I don't think I missed anybody. I mean, there were some great golfers like Billy Casper and Raymond Floyd, but they weren't in the upper tier because of the competition back then. I think it was tougher.
I definitely think Brooks is a lot
Right there.
closer into being in that decision than people think. I think if another major to added into the record
Agreed.
is gonna make him a serious contender for
Agreed.
like, a top 10 discussion.
He would have been
and
top
even
10 maybe
saying
already. Liv has hurt these guys as far as that type of thing. That's all I'm saying.
I think Rory has to win the Masters to be in that group. I think if Rory wins the career Grand Slam, I think he has to be.
He's in the group. It's the only thing. What's stopping Norman? He blew so many tournaments. He'd be in the group if he had if he hadn't blown 2-3 of the majors. He'd be in that group. That's why he's a bitter guy. He's got everything going for him. He's just a bitter guy. Rory, it's been 10 years. He's got to win the Masters, I think.
I agree.
Spieth, I was ready to put Spieth in at the beginning of his career. And then all of a sudden, he's gone down a little bit. So it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun this week. Absolutely. And
watch out for Aberg, baby.
Oh, Ludwig Oberg is, his floor is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Guys in the top 20. He's in the top 20 every week and is as
silent when he shoots. When he swings, he's silent.
I watched him this week at TPC San Antonio, and it's as effortlessly powerful as you see it on TV. He's gonna be the next guy. There's no way he's not.
I'm putting some money on him this week. To win the tournament, finish in the top 20. He's my main guy. I think if you're going to look at a Liv guy, Ram, we haven't mentioned too much of him except for what he did with Liv, but he's second. He's 12 plus 1,200. So we'll see what happens, fellas.
Even crazier that this is Ludwig's major debut. Already played in a Ryder Cup, everything, has not played in a major yet, which is absolutely incredible. He's literally the only person to ever play in a Ryder Cup before making a major debut. And then the only other one I had in my picks that almost feels disrespectful for how far down the list he is, there's still places and sites that you can get Wyndham at 40 to 1.
Yeah.
What happened to Max Homa? What happened to Will Zalatoris? What happened to Adam Scott? Here's another guy I bet against. If he's in matchup golf, I'll bet against him. People love to bet him. Terrell Hatton. They love betting Terrell Hatton. I bet against him. I win 3 out of every 4. If matchup golf, he's not a bad golfer, but he's a very popular golfer with the public.
And he probably gets put up against a lot of the top golfers in the world. And Tyrrell is a good golfer, like you said. But I like that call because he has he's one of the only people in the entire world to publicly say he doesn't like Augusta. He doesn't like this course. He gets angry playing on this course. So that strategy might pay off this week, Mike.
We're going to have to do something about that boy. We're going to have to do something about that boy. What the hell talking about a course like that? I'm telling you, I was there. It was like 19. I was in the 70s there. I put my hands up when I walked across the street. It's crazy. But here, I'll give you another one. But Tommy Fleetwood at 50 to 1. These guys are just 3-day. Victor Hovland, 30. These guys were all great. Cantley at 35. Who's great? I know a guy that in matchup golf he bets the Asian golfers. That's all against the. If there's an Asian against an English golfer, American golfer, it doesn't matter. South African golfer, he bets the Asians. He does pretty good.
They're all just consistent. I swear.
That's what he says. They don't care. They don't know even how much money they're going to make. They just play to win every time. I said, well, don't they all? He goes, some guys go out there, it's a practice round for 4 days to get ready for Augusta. The Asian golfers come to play.
We're going to have more props and bets coming out later throughout the week here on Golf on Tap. I'm actually going to be going live with Joey Ricotta later this evening. So if
Joey
you want
Ricotta.
a great name, right?
Great kid.
Name.
His
Absolutely.
family owned a delicatessen down the street, Joey.
Joey
we got,
Ricotta.
we got lots of good stuff coming on Golf
All
on
right,
Tap
buddy.
throughout the course of this week. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to join us for Masters.
Thank you, and I'm happy for you guys. You're doing a great job. I was happy you got credentials. I'll make a call if you want me to. Who you want me to? Did you get you couldn't swing Augusta?
I didn't really.
Well, you just went to Valero,
I just went to Valero. I didn't.
Yeah.
It was going to be a long 2 weeks if I tried to swing.
and you're
Augusta.
battling for thousands of people for credentials at Augusta.
It's a little tough to pull that one, but I wouldn't be opposed to a little Mike North kick in the pants to somebody to try
I'm gonna
to
have
get
to
me
call
in
a couple
somewhere.
people down there. Said I was at Fort Gordon back in 72, 73. I know some people that, I knew about Shirley's Hotel. We won't get into that right now, but that's beside the point. And they'll go, she dead, and your dad here. James Brown used to park his plane. He was from Augusta, the king of soul. James Brown, big black plane in green lettering, King of Soul, right at Augusta Airport. So they got a lot of Augusta's got a lot of history to it. Really does.
And we'll see if more history is going to be made here this week. I'm sure there will be. The Masters never disappoints. It's going to be a lovely week. One more time, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't done so already, make sure to go and follow Golf on Tap on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may listen to your podcast. It's 100% free. And also, if you're betting this week for the first time, shout out to our sponsor, Bet Rivers. Use the promo code ONTAP. You'll get up to a $250 match on your first deposit. So you put in $250. All of a sudden, you got $500 to bet on the Masters. Go crazy. It's Golf Super Bowl, but make sure you bet responsibly.
That's
always
right.
Rule number one here on the show.
Don't take your eyes away. I changed the channel one time. I was watching a ball game, forgot about the golf. I got back. It was too late. I lost.
Oh, no.
It was Hoffman, that Charlie Hoffman, winning by 3 strokes, that rascal. I 16th hole. He's winning by 3 strokes against Nick Taylor about 4 weeks ago. I turned the channel. I checked my iPad later. Nick Taylor wins in overtime. He hit like a 30-footer or something.
He went nuts. But don't blink this week at Augusta because you'll miss some good stuff.
No changing at Augusta ever. It's Augusta.
Absolutely. It's as good as it gets. Golf Super Bowl. We're excited for things to get underway on Thursday. Mike, thank you again to everyone who tuned in. Thank you as well. We'll catch you next time on Golf on Tap.
You guys are the best. Thanks. Take care.